And how do we know that they're knocking at the door? Because something happening, and then you're watching a movie or
Right.
somebody says something, and you got this intense emotion and reaction coming out of your system that at one point you're like, okay, this appears to be a little bit more intense than what's happening.
Right.
The reactions that we're doing. And those are the parts of us which have been kind of locked in the closet, and they're knocking to say, let me out. Like,
Right.
heal me. I don't want to be in this closet.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stephenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where our mission is to empower you to live your best audacious life ever. It's always a pleasure to be here with you, and I sincerely appreciate you for spending part of your day with us. Together, we embark on a journey towards self-discovery, resilience, and intentional living. Now, today we'll explore the transformative insights from Dr. Foojan Zeine. She's a renowned psychotherapist and life coach with over 32 years of experience. Dr. Zaine's mission is to help individuals uncover their true selves, heal from past traumas, and embrace a life filled with intention and purpose. Her work centers on awareness integration theory, which emphasizes the importance of self-awareness, healing, the healing of past traumas, and intentional living as pathways to mental well-being. Now, just as a gardener must first assess the soil, clear away weeds, and nurture the plants to create a flourishing garden, we too must cultivate our minds. And we do that by nurturing self-awareness, healing past wounds, and intentionally planting positive thoughts to foster our mental well-being. Dr. Zeine is a renowned psychotherapist, life coach, and the creator of awareness integration theory. With her extensive background in psychotherapy as well as life coaching, she's absolutely dedicated her life to helping individuals heal from those traumas and cultivate, again, a space for well-being. Her innovative approach combines various psychological theories to provide a comprehensive framework for personal development. Her insights are not only valuable for those struggling with mental health issues, but they are also for anyone who's seeking to enhance their self-awareness and intentionality in life. It is a really insightful conversation. Dr. Zeine has so much great stuff to share. So without any further ado, let's turn to our conversation. Enjoy. Hey, Foojan, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you for taking the time to be here. Thank you for doing this.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invite, Ollie. It's awesome to be here with you and everyone who's listening.
Thank you. I've oftentimes say that, I consider this a blessing to be able to sort of engage in conversations or dialogues that, potentially can help, put individuals on a better path, if you will. And so and I was saying earlier, the message is a message, and we definitely know what, it'll find it'll find who it should. And so it feels, bit of a blessing to kind of be a part of this, right? In this fashion. So I guess in turn, I should thank you for helping me fulfill, my own mission.
I think it's two human beings coming together and just sharing whatever is in my path and yours and experiences, and hoping and knowing that it will hit somebody's heart.
Yes, that is the intended purpose, and so we're here to hit hard. So, question about that. Now, here, on this podcast, we spend much time really encouraging individuals to live that best audacious life. And I think a really important aspect is understanding the fact that we're all on our own individual paths, right? And those paths could be littered with obstacles and challenges and pitfalls. but it's still, ours own individually nonetheless. And so what I'm going through is very different from Sally, Tom, or Rick. And so, and I say that because sometimes, we'll compare, right? We'll look where people are at and we'll go, oh my gosh, I'm not here, or oh my gosh, I'm only here. And whereas, where you are is where you're supposed to be, where I am is where I'm supposed to be. And I think the more we can understand that and be focused on what we have in front of us, I think, the chances for success have increased. And so, all that to say, perhaps maybe this is an opportunity for you to introduce yourself to our audience, talk about the work that you do and what's got you to the point that you're at now.
Of course, yes. I've been a psychotherapist and a coach, life and business coach for about 32 years. And my journey began with wanting to heal me, wanting to figure out who am I and how come I said that I'm going to get everything I wanted and then I got it and I'm not happy, I'm not successful, I'm not fulfilled, even though I was creating success, but I wasn't fulfilled. And the success was never enough. It had to go to the next level, to the next level. And, I've come from my share of trauma and immigration and going through a lot of the hardships, but it was more like I was thriving and starving. I mean, kind of like surviving and thriving. But it was more about just do the thing you got to do because everybody said if you do these things, we'll get happy. And I wasn't happy or fulfilled. So this path started with the concept of let me figure out what's going on with me, that no matter what I do, what the society says, just doesn't get fulfilled. And then the world of psychotherapy and, the coaching and self-growth seminars, I learned so much. So I knew that the first component was me becoming aware of me, my patterns and healing the past that I had, and then knowing where some of these belief systems and experiences were kind of like stuck and not moving, I wasn't being fluid and move forward. And then I loved working with psychotherapists and other coaches so much, and I've learned so much, and I had changed my life that this was the field that I wanted to get into. And so I did. I went back to graduate school and became a therapist. In the path that I learned, it was more like each theory gave an amazing growth for clients, but each one of them kind of stopped somewhere, and then the other one started from there. So I learned a lot of these kind of theories and put them together and kind of created a structure that it encompasses multimodality and a lot of these theories and interventions together. So you could go deep, in a speedy time, and you could get effective healing and growth for people in a much more effective way. So I created the awareness integration theory, which is a psychological theory, but also it's a psychological theory plus also like an educational, because we use it also in education, growing, and parenting, and all of those concepts. So at this point, I'm teaching, certifying coaches and psychotherapists globally across the world. And we also could do a lot of research. So in research, we found that by using this in a clinical way, in a psychological way with psychotherapy, we found it reduces depression about 75% and anxiety about 63%, and raises self-esteem, self-efficacy, self-confidence. And then we did this as a self-help model into the universities, and we did the research, and only as journaling and self-help, we also saw that we're still bringing down like 64% depression and anxiety. So that was astonishing results. So we thought, okay, if the self-help helps so much, let's do it in an app. So we created an app. With Foojan app, which does, go through 31 areas of your life. And we go through all of the process of guided journaling and guided meditation and take you through the whole process. And even with that, we found people are saying that they have about between 71 to 75% fulfillment in that area of life after they go through the guided meditation. And then we put in the AI chatbot, which is trained in this model, and you can ask a question inside the app and it answers you. So that's how it started, and this is how it's landing at this time, having the ability for 8 billion people on the face of the earth to have
Right.
access to this model, and so to become fulfilled in their life.
Gotcha. And just to clarify, the model is the awareness
Integrate.
integration theory, right? That
Yes.
right. Okay. And I mean, well, it sounds like certainly a massive undertaking, but it also sounds, and when you create an app for it and component those different components, it sounds very dynamic. I've got to be honest with you as you're talking about it, right? And a new way of helping people manage their mental wellness.
Yes, it's very dynamic, and it's adaptable. So not only we adapted it to a clinical way where psychotherapists can use with people who are working, with their first growth or mental conditions or mental illnesses or mental health issues, but also it's working in a self-help where a lot of people use it where they don't have a mental illness or condition, but they want to become more, their mental well-being. They want
Okay.
to get better at different things that you're doing. They become, understanding who they are and what they do. Then we adapted it to school system, which we have, the pilot study of like doing it in a daycare where we could teach the kids how to think and feel and behave in a way that they kind of get, happy and get what they want from an early childhood and taking it to school. Teaching it in universities here in, Paris, France, in Romania, in different places. And then in Dubai, I was just in Dubai and came back. So we're, taking this globally so you could see the outreach and going into the different models. We do it, in the app, in the self app. And my latest book that just came out, we also adapted it to take it into companies, right? Because
Okay.
you relate, right? You're in relationships in companies.
Sure.
8 to 10 hours a day you're with other people, and you have all of these kind of different relationships with your bosses, with people you work with, and then your colleagues, and then people who work for you. So you got all of these kind of structures and authority levels and
Yeah.
responsibilities and teamwork, which takes a lot from a person to be able to relate in all these dynamics. And we take like kind of our family dynamic into our work too. So
Mm.
adapted it also to corporations and companies in, management levels, C levels, and employees to be able to take this and adapt it into the culture of actually how to see awareness, how to communicate, how to coordinate and collaborate. So it is, like you said, it's a very dynamic
Hmm.
and adaptable to different areas of our life. Marriages,
Yeah.
child, we created a book, Intentional Parenting, and how to actually, parent your child from this model. So it is very adaptable.
And how different is it than what's already out there, like or what exists, or there's nothing like this exist?
Well, it's coming from the best that is out there. So, for
Okay.
example, learned, all of the theories that suggest that if you change your belief systems, then you
Yes.
change your emotion and then behavior and create a result. The belief system that says really monitor your emotion, name it, release it. It has a lot of
Yes.
messages for you. The theories that says change your behaviors, and then the other two will follow. Mind, body, listen to your body, get the messages. And even if you wanted to go to memories, you could go through your body and see where the memories and the traumas are there, because traumas are, kind of stored in our body, and how to, access your body and the healing that has to happen through your body. So taking that, I've learned 30 years of hypnosis. I've learned all the trauma modalities such as eye movement
Mm.
sensation reprocessing, in all the different types of desensitizations. And then we do mindfulness, all of these theories that I had learned, studied, and worked through in my sessions, kind of created this collage, created this,
Gotcha.
that came together to create efficiency and taking it from one layer to another. So
Mm.
is anything like it out there right now? No, because it is a combo of many things that have been
Yes.
there and created this beautiful efficiency. And that's how it's different from
Yes.
what's out there already.
Right, right. It's funny as you were describing, the word culmination came to mind. That's what's yelled at me and screamed, and that's what I'm hearing in terms of taking the best, a little bit of everything, and coming together. And I think for me, what really sounds exciting is that self help piece where people can direct and guide themselves. It's like having their own therapist right in their hands.
Pretty much. I always say it feels like, you know how you have massage gadgets at home
Sure.
where you're tired, you want to relax, you have your muscles aching, and you have these gadgets, different ones that vibrate or all the heat, vibration, all of that at home. And it does give you a lot of soothing. It becomes preventive, so that your muscles are not worse later on. That's a
Right.
different experience when you go to a massage therapist, right? So you just lay down and allow this to be worked on you, and then you share and converse with your massage therapist. It's a completely different experience. Or if you
Right.
have injuries, if you have injuries, you actually go to the specialist in order to be able to handle the injuries. And I
Right.
kind of say the same thing about the awareness integration, where if you want something at home, and at any time you can ask questions and go for it, which it releases some of the tension for you. It creates some awareness. It gives you some skills that you could do immediately. Then the Foojan app and Mira, which is the AI chatbot, does that every day, every night, 24 hours, seven, it's 3 days and 3 days of free
Hmm.
free trial, and then very minimal per month that you have that. So that's what you have all day. It's
Right.
different when you need someone as a mirror effect, such as a psychotherapist or a coach, and that's why we're training and certifying all of them across the globe, where if you need it, that's available for you. And then if you do have a mental illness condition that you do need experts, then we're also training experts where they can bring their expertise and have this model with it. So it depends on what your needs are.
Right.
There's an availability for it.
Right. The other part about the self help component that I like is it creates an opportunity for honesty. Like you're dealing with yourself, and not to say in a typical maybe psychotherapist relationship, you've got to, there has to be a bit of a relationship, so there's time kind of establishing things like trust and openness and all sorts of things. Whereas if I'm sitting to myself, and it's different for everyone, I know I'm speaking very generally here, right? But if you're sitting by yourself, I've only got myself, and it gives me a chance just to be open with and honest with myself, and which I think will work. It's not going to be the same for everyone, but I think it can work for some people.
I totally agree with you. I remember I wrote the first book on online therapy. It was like 2005, which we didn't even have videos. We
Right,
only had like chat, right?
right.
And I remember at that time when we were talking, I was like, oh, are people going to be connecting with just the online chat with their therapist, but just writing? And it was amazing, oddly. A lot of this fluff at the beginning went away. And
Hmm.
people, because they weren't sitting right face to face
Yep.
with therapists, which they wanted to talk about something that they didn't feel good about, or shame, or they felt embarrassed and they didn't know if the therapist was going to have a judgment on them, that they were like up front the first session they would be giving us the most the kind of private of their life, and they would put it out there. And you really got how much of this kind of journaling and writing and just letting it out and letting themselves out without that kind of having to be sitting in front of someone also worked exactly in what you say. I've had that experience. And we see that also with the app, where they, go ahead and then just write everything because it's a guided journaling. And then they'll ask Mira, they ask really interesting questions that just answers them back immediately with skill building, pondering
Ah,
questions, and then, try these 8 steps and see how it happens, and then come back and let us know. And then we could,
ah.
so it really does help you. 3 o'clock in the morning, you're sitting there, you can't sleep, and you have
Yep.
these goes and go here, talk talk it out.
As opposed to waiting to book an appointment with your therapist, right? It's a 24/7 on call, if you will.
Exactly,
the
exactly.
uh the So I mean, when you sort of think of the process of building our mental well-being or strengthening our mental health, much or what people are dealing with is their past, right? That's where a lot of it sort of comes from. When we talk about trauma, as you mentioned earlier, like the trauma, so much of what's happened was in the past, and in some instances, it's known, and some it's not known, right? And they both can be very detrimental. And so I guess where the sort of discussion about sort of past traumatic events and how important that is to actually manage them, because we can put them in a box and pretend they're not there and ignore them and live our lives and be as happy as we want to be, but it's still over there, right? It's still something over our shoulder that we got to be mindful of.
Very much. What happens is like our system gets overloaded with some emotion at that moment and it cannot process it and it needs to move on. It needs to survive it. So what it does the best way for our system to protect itself, it holds that space, puts it in a shelf, and then runs and goes. And I think everybody has experienced sometimes where, you're in an accident, right? And at that moment, all is happening is you're trying to figure out how to get out of the car and survive and all of that. And not noticing even that you're injured, right? Like after you get yourself into safety, you're like, ow. And then suddenly you're like, okay, so that's what our body does. Our body, in order to make us survive, puts things in the closet. And then when you can handle it, it'll bring it back. What also happens in a lot of the emotional traumas, whether they're harsh and huge, what we call them big T's, big traumas, like war, rape, sexual assaults, physical abuse, and all of those. People who went to combat, right? People, veterans. I mean, all of those are big traumas. And then we also have these little traumas where our ego was hurt, but that's still a traumatic concept, right? Protected us, if our teacher, our parents, or we got neglected, or we were constantly bullied or badgered, all of those are still traumatic to us. So our system does the same thing. It takes it, it holds it on the side, and then in order for us to survive and move forward, well, these parts of us who are we put them in a closet, they're constantly knocking at the door. And how do we know that they're knocking at the door? Because something happening, and then you're watching a movie or somebody says something, and you got this intense emotion and reaction coming out of your system that at one point you're like, okay, this appears to be a little bit more intense than what's happening.
Right.
The reactions that we're doing. And those are the parts of us which have been kind of locked in the closet, and they're knocking to say, let me out. Like, heal me. I don't want to be in this closet. However, because we are overwhelmed with life overall, what happens is these parts of us knock and then we push them down. They knock and you're like, I don't have time right now. I'm at work. I'm talking to my boss. I don't have time to deal with you. Or that people think that because it was so painful at the first time, I cannot go through that pain. That's why I put you in the closet. I'm not opening the door, because the minute I open the door, I got to face this tremendous amount of pain. And no, I'm not doing this anymore.
Right.
That's why a lot of people just won't go, right? And like, no, I'm not touching it. Most of the time that we've had these type of traumas, we were vulnerable. We felt helpless. We felt powerless at that moment. And somehow that, being in that state of vulnerability, many times we made up beliefs about ourselves, like I can't, or I'm not capable, I'm not good enough, I'm not something, because at that moment is a place of vulnerability. So, we make up some belief and then we kind of attach it to ourselves as an identity. I don't say like, I'm being lazy right now and I don't want to do it. I just prefer to be comfortable right now. I'll say, I am lazy. Or it's not like I can't do this right now because, I don't know how to, and I really got to create a skill. I'm not capable, right? We make this like image or the world is
these sweeping labels, right?
Exactly. Like generalized labels, put them in cement as if that's the truth. And then we operate on that. Like a 5-year-old made that decision. And today at 60, I'm still operating on a 5-year-old. Not realizing, if I got to 60, 63, I probably did some things right. So these parts are so separated, but then with the conviction of I am, as an identity. And that's what you were sharing. Like they show up in our life as a sabotage, and we have no clue where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm,
So the
mm-hmm.
most important factor is first becoming aware of who we are, what we do, what kind of thought process we have, what kind of emotional process we have, our behavior throughout the daily events. Like if I can just monitor and put in two cameras, one camera inside, and which monitors your thought process, emotional process, and your body sensation. And
Yep.
then one camera outside of looking at my behavior toward outside and whatever, results I create. Then this awareness of just daily activities and in my relationships with my mate, with my body, with myself, with my house, with my work, with, driving, with people, with my family, with friends, everything. So in all of these areas of life, if I can start monitoring and watching all of this unfold, I get a lot of clue about then my subconscious concepts, because my subconscious concepts are coming through the way I talk. They're coming through how I feel. They're coming through my behaviors consistently.
Yes.
I wish that we're always intentional, but we live pretty much, 90% with our subconscious. We're not conscious of 100%. We're conscious probably between 5 to 10% max of everything we do. So if I start monitoring my behaviors and how the outcomes I create, and then monitoring the thoughts and belief systems that are coming across, I can get a clue about the subconscious. So I'll put a light about the subconscious. And then so obviously, if I see what type of thought process, how I think and feel and behave creates this kind of result and an impact in my relationships, then I can see which ones work and, put them in a pile and say, okay, that's my strength. I'm going to do that again.
Yeah.
And which one doesn't work? And it's like, that doesn't work. And is this just a habit I took? Is this something that I got, as, from my parents, my teachers, and my colleagues or whatever, and I'm doing it because I thought it worked, and possibly it works when I was 5, but it just doesn't work right now.
Right.
Or is it actually a belief system that I made about myself and I made it into an identity? And so based on this type of an awareness in these different areas of life, I can look at what skills I have and what I don't, and then look at the part of the belief systems that don't work for me, and then kind of go through a process of when did I make this up? Like what was, what was the memory? Like what was it that I actually made this up about myself? And then have the ability to bring that side of me out of the closet, to, kind of like bond with it, heal it, look at it from another side, and kind of, bring it and integrate it with myself. Hence, the awareness and then the integration. That's how the name showed up. And then as I go through all of these different areas of my life and bring and kind of clean up all the closet as I go across and kind of integrate myself, and then from there attempt to be intentional of who do I intend to be. Like I know my strengths so far, I know what works for me, so what are some of the value systems that I want to uphold, and become intentional and come to each area of the life that I'm dealing with, and really set up to be intentional about what I want to create, who I need to be, who I intend to be, and what I want to create in them. And then set up goals and structures and action plans and all of these, and then get support from the outside world in order to fulfill the structure and move forward. But because I have the skills now through the AIT, I have the skills of how to monitor. Then every time I have a goal and I hit an obstacle, I do have the skills to go monitor again. Where did this obstacle come from? Is it because I don't have the skill, or is it because it's a belief system is not working for me? If it's a skill I don't have, I'll go learn it. If it's a belief I'm holding, let me go clean it up and come back. So it gives you a lot of good tools to systematically become aware, get integrated, create, be intentional, and then watch your results. And anytime you move forward as the result, if you got it, you go like this and hold the strength, like be aware of actual strengths that you've had. And if you hit a block, you've got this, the tools to do your assessment and heal, and then move forward again.
Right. it really guides you through like the whole healing journey. Like
Yes.
as you've described it, I mean, if I was sitting down with someone, that would be the process that we'd kind of, or something along those lines, is what I would kind of go through, where I'm doing a lot of reflection and asking myself. And I love the question, like, where did I get this belief from? Where did it start from? And that's how you create, awareness. So I oftentimes use an analogy when we talk about awareness, and I say envision a living room, right? So in your living room, you've got your couch, your television, your coffee table, the lamp. Maybe there's a nice painting on the wall, and that's your living room. If you turn off the light, right, those things aren't visible. When you turn the light back on, you see them. But the light didn't put them there. The light allowed you to see what was in the living room. And so the piece around this is that the items were always there. And so AIT, the light, is just kind of shining that on you as you go through your awareness journey.
Absolutely. Plus, all the research says that memories are not set in stone. It's
Okay.
not an event that happened and now it's solid. The memories are fluid. And every time you go back to revisit a memory, you recreate the memory. Now, for
Okay.
many years in psychotherapy, and I knew that I did a good job, my clients told me they did a good job, but we kept going back through these theories of empathizing with ourselves in that memory. We wanted to heal that part of us. But sometimes we only looked at the vulnerability and kept manifesting the vulnerability more and more and more. We went to our memories from a poor me, like, oh,
Mm.
that happened. Although we want to be a compassionate, but there's a part that we can be compassionate without having to do this, like, oh, poor thing, like, versus, yes, we can have the compassion, but oh my God, I'm sorry that that happened to you, and I wish it wouldn't happen to you. But look
Hmm.
at the amazing strength that you have. But look at look at the resiliency you had. Look at the way you handle, even if you didn't do a word and just were patient, that by itself was a strategy. Even being
Mm.
patient and holding on to your life until it passed, that still is a skill. Some animals play dead because that's a skill they have
Yes. Yes.
until the predator is gone. And it's like,
Yes.
so if I can go back to those memories, but this time from a resilient concept, this time from
Yes.
a love that I have for you and an appreciation that I have for that part of myself, that is,
Yes.
that I can see the strength. So these are the ways that we go from this concept of a victimization stance from the world, or an entitlement that I have from the world, which creates a lot of suffering for all of us, to come to an empowering position that each one of us has that inner power that we could access and hold on to, and co-create life with whatever life brings, versus having this entitlement about, why doesn't life give me, or why did it give me this, why me, versus, okay, these are the cards that were given to me, let me play my best game with these cards. What is it
Mm.
that's in my control? What is it that it's not? Focus on what is in my control based on what's happening. And, be intentional in how I can create. And in every step that I go,
Yeah.
like, this is what you've done. This is what you're learning. And this is
Yep.
what forward. Oddly, there's also this part of us which we might find strength and skills in one area, but
Okay.
we bridged it to the other side. I don't know
Yes.
if you've ever experienced this. I have, and many people I work with have. You know how we are grown up when we go to work. And
Okay.
when we go to work, we learn how to speak
Yep.
professionally, how to handle our emotional states and regulation. And although sometimes you're like, want to kill the other person, you know how to zip it, hold
Yep.
it, take it, and become
Yes.
professional. Look at what you got to do and
Yep.
solve the issue. And then you go to a Christmas party or Thanksgiving, and then your family is there, and somehow you forget you had the skills. And the person says one sentence, and we're blowing off steam, and going at it and yelling and screaming and holding grudge and doing all of that. Exactly what we did, when I was 5 years old or 10 years
Right.
old.
Right.
And it's almost like the part of me that's within the family system, or is in my marriage or my parenting or all of that, is as if has no access.
Right.
Again, it's like this part of me is learning all the skills, but it's boxing it under the name professional.
Yes.
And then my other part is doing behaviors that are outdated, but because it's in the family system, I'm giving it leverage, right? And sometimes when I work with my couples or, parents or all of that with their children, you're like, well, I don't know how to do it. I said, what do you do at work when you hit, would you have to deal with difficult
Right.
people?
It's the same thing.
Yeah, the same thing. I'm like, treat your child or treat your spouse as that person then, because obviously that skill is working there. So you could become aware of, oh my God, how much skill you are using in so many other realms of life.
That's right. I think what happens is people compartmentalize, right? And they go, I'm at work, so this is how I behave at work, and I'm at home, and this is what I do at home. But you are the same person, right?
Yes. And the more you become aware, you can cross these compartmentalizations and become a whole person. Where you can use your skills everywhere.
Yeah. I want to talk about intentionality for a moment. You've referenced it a couple of times during the conversation. I think it's an important aspect into our overall, daily living, fulfillment, mental well-being. I don't know if you can talk about the significance of intentionality in our actions.
I think that intentionality creates a proactive concept, which you would say, for example, I would say, I want to take a stand of hearing things from a loving place. I want to offer my loving side to everybody. And no matter what happens, I'm going to come from this space, right? So if I have this intentionality that I'm coming to, for example, share with Audley, so I'm just going to come here and hold that space. So it doesn't matter what he says to me. Can I still come from this place? So this becomes a little bit more of a proactive stance that I bring with me anywhere that I have, right? So it could be an intentionality in my being, who I need to be, my values, and hold those values. I could have intentionality about some behavior that I have. Like I'm going to come in and I'm going to go do my best bargaining and negotiation because I want this car, but I only have my, amount of money that I have is only this much. This is only to my budget. So my intentionality is to do my best to get that car within my budget. And that's what I do, right? I go and negotiate until I get it. So you could see if you are intentional beforehand as you walk into a state, at least you're bringing some part of your power into the co-creativity versus just I'm here and I'm, the waves are taking me. I'm just going to allow, for me to move with whatever the world brings. And sometimes it's beautiful to allow ourselves to go with what the world brings, right? And just share with it and go into the journey. But even if that's intentional, is as if, okay, at this point, I'm just going to be open to receiving all the messages that the world goes and go with it. This creates a lot more empowerment and sense of responsibility and accountability for us if we're intentional versus going into a situation and then getting hit by stuff and then again going into the victimization and reactivity. Versus I'm responsible for my thoughts, my perception, how I take in these, information from the outside world, how I choose to behave toward the outside world. As when I'm intentional this way, I'm more empowered.
No, I guess I certainly can see that, and it allows you to really get to the core of the issues, right? And then you understand the core of them and deal and address them, because that's really the whole point of all this is to deal and address with what things are affecting your mental well-being. And so I certainly love that. From the perspective of sort of positive impact, I'm wondering how listeners can, if we're thinking about AI, the AIT, awareness integration theory. I'm trying to make sure I get it all AIT. How listeners can practically apply sort of those concepts in their kind of everyday living.
Everyday living is like, as the minute you wake up, you can put those cameras in, and so you monitor yourself. You are aware of yourself, although you're doing things. And then as you monitor yourself, you could look at if they're doing something that is moving forward and is exactly how you like it, and then you check out, like, how am I thinking? What am I creating? What am I feeling? What am I doing? And put those as your toolbox. Like, when I do these things, life works, right? And when there's something that is not working, become aware of it, that this isn't working for me. Now, when you say this isn't working for me, watch out that you don't go like there's something wrong with me, or that there's something wrong with the world. It's somebody else's fault or is my fault. No, just, this isn't working for me. And let's look at, is it because I don't have a skill? Then let me go figure out and learn the skills from people, role model. We always role model from people, learn, might as well. I don't have this skill. Let me go to someone who's got it and figure it out. Their books, their podcasts, their movies, their, instructional stuff. Or we might have somebody around us that, oh, I like him. He does that well, or she does that well. Okay, go learn, just role model what they do. Or that it's not a skill concept, that is a belief system. Like, I have the skill, but I'm not landing it because this other belief is holding me. And then we can go through the journey of seeing, again, when did I create that? Was this really mine, or somebody gave it to me, or I just took it on because, out of 10 things that my mother said, 9 were positive, 1 was negative. I forgot all the positive and I hooked onto the negative, right?
Yeah, so that's right.
Let me look at, where did I make this up, and then get realistic about it, and, heal myself and integrate, and then move on. So what you can see, that every day I can monitor. One of the things we could do is, every morning as I wake up, I can say, be intentional about my day. What is it that I want to create, and who do I intend to be today? Who do I intend to be? I intend to be someone who is, loving, kind, honest, transparent, and successful, and capable, and whatever it is you say. What do I want to create? Well, these are my to-do list. I want to land this. Awesome. So you start with this intentionality, and then you go through your day. You can monitor your day, do all you do. And then at night, you can always turn around and journal, whether you journal through the Foojan app or just with you and your pen and a piece of paper, and start writing. How was my day? Did I gain everything I wanted? And if it's a yes, awesome. How was I that I created it? And if I didn't create some of it, what were the obstacles? What stopped me?
What happened? That's right.
What type of thinking was I doing? Where was I stuck? Where was I ruminating? Where is it that I wasn't even paying attention?
Yes.
And those are all lessons for us. And it's like, all right, awesome. And then at night, you tell yourself that I did the best that I knew today, and good for you for creating all that you created, and you learn from what you didn't. Then you wake up in the morning and do it all over again. So this is how, like, you become intentional.
Yes.
Life.
Yes. So I was going to say, turn the cameras back on and do it all over again, right? I think that camera is a really good analogy of kind of how we can see everything that's in front of us and be able to judge accordingly, like what needs to be addressed or where things are coming from, or ask ourselves those key questions that you identified earlier. That's awesome. This is fantastic, Foojan. I think it's like I said, I think it sounds dynamic, and certainly I think it's something that if listeners are interested, they should take a step further, be intentional, and check it out. For those that may want to do so, where can we send them?
If you want to find me, it's FoojanZeine.com. If you want to know a lot more about awareness integration, just check out awarenessintegration.com. And if you want the app, Foojan app, you can find it in Apple Store or Google, or you could go to Foojan.com just to get more information about the app, and you could go through that.
Very cool. And I should also mention, you're a podcaster yourself. You got the Inner Voice podcast, I believe is the name of it, right?
Yes, the Inner Voice. We have almost like 390 episodes already. I bring a lot of amazing guests, which are also authors, and from all fields, all fields that have relation with humanities and society and psychology and philosophy and spirituality and all of that. To give, just the way your podcast is, to give the essence of how to create a better and a fulfilled life. And I think that the more that we have a stronger inner voice, and actually Foojan means inner voice, means like a powerful inner voice. So as the more that we empower this internal voice and be realistic about what's happening out there, I think we'll have a better and a fulfilled life, So A lot of these things are also, I authored and co-authored 6 books. They're out there for parenting, for self-help, for companies. All of that is available on the websites if people are interested to check out.
Amazing. Well, we'll make sure that all the appropriate contact details in the show notes below, and encourage listeners to check them out and access them accordingly. Foojan, thank you for this. This has been fantastic. Really, really appreciate the insights as well as the education, if you will. And again, I will encourage our listeners to check out AIT, that's Awareness Integration Theory, and how it can apply in their lives and help them be more intentional.
Thank you, Audley. It was wonderful to be with you and for everybody else who's listening to us.
Thanks so much. Back we are here on the podcast, and in our chat with Dr. Zeine, she illuminated the concept of self-awareness as a foundational element for mental well-being, and I totally agree with that. I was particularly struck by her emphasis on the fluidity of our memories and the impact that they can have on us. It's really fascinating to realize that our memories are not fixed. They can be revisited, reshaped, and more importantly, they can be healed. This perspective encourages us to confront both big traumas and the smaller, often overlooked ones as well that can weigh us down. What resonated with me the most was Dr. Zeine's call to action for individuals to be proactive in their mental health journeys. By setting intentions and monitoring our thoughts and behaviors, we can navigate our lives with purpose rather than reactivity. The proactive stance is empowering and serves us as a reminder that we have the ability to shape our own narratives. I encourage you to connect with Dr. Zeine directly. You can find her at foojanzeine.com and check out the Foojan app, which offers guided journaling and meditation to support your mental health journey. Of course, all the details are in the show notes below. As an FYI, Dr. Zeine is currently offering a 3-day trial for the Foojan app, and it's allowing you to explore its features as well as its benefits. Don't miss this opportunity to take a step forward in your mental well-being. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for tuning into the Audacious Living Podcast. If you found today's episode valuable, please take a moment to like, follow, subscribe, and share this with family and friends to help our community grow if you haven't already done so. Remember, just like a garden requires nurturing to flourish, so does our mental well-being. By being intentional, addressing our past, and cultivating self-awareness, we can create lives that are not only audacious, but fulfilling. Until next time, keep shining your light and living boldly. Stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stephenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.